This video is gonna be amazing. Editing Rain is gonna hate this. Editing Rain is absolutely gonna hate this. Today I have decided we're going to be watching SCP-3999 by Dr. Bob, and this one is called The Most Proven Case of Broken Reality. SCP-3999 is I am at the center of everything that happens to me.
How sure are you that the world around you is real? How concrete is your sense of reality? That the things you see, hear, taste, smell, and touch are actually there, and not just figments of your imagination.
I'm gonna have to interject here because this is called anxiety. This is called anxiety. And I think about this a lot. I think about this a lot. And I mean, like, literally every single day. Even before I knew about this SCP, I thought about this thing a lot. I've always been thinking about, like, what if my world's not the same as your world? Like, what if I see colors different? I am very invested in this kind of conversation because I've always been kind of having that in my head. I've been thinking about this, right? Congratulations, you might have anxiety.
Or, much more frighteningly, aren't the figments of something else's imagination. Say you have a dream that you're a butterfly in a garden on a scenic summer's day, flying from flower to flower, and then you wake up in your bed the next morning. Can you be certain, as Zen Master Zhuang once asked, if you're a man dreaming you're a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming you're a man? These same questions haunted an SCP Foundation researcher named James Talleyrand for years, before his colleagues found him dead under extremely mysterious circumstances. What follows is the story of how James Talleyrand died, put together as best I could from the scattered files at the highest levels of Foundation classification. Because if what I've found is true, then James Talleyrand found a glitch in reality itself, a terrible, broken thing that throws everything we've ever experienced into question. And the other question we need to answer today is, did James Talleyrand save existence as we know it?
A glitch in existence? I thought this SCP was not evil. I thought this wasn't an evil SCP. I was convinced this one was good. I saw it listed somewhere as, Oh, no, wait. No, that's right. Actually, I did see it listed as Apollyon. Oopies. That's not the good one. That's not the good one. Never mind. This is an interesting one.
His reality changed forever. Talleyrand became obsessed with one of the most mysterious anomalies on the SCP Foundation database, SCP-3999, which seemed to have no file and records available to Level 3 researchers. Being an inquisitive enough fellow, he wanted to get to the bottom of this. Given that plenty of anomalies out there had info-hazardous properties, meaning they could mess with people even knowing about them, he decided that this would warrant further investigation. He had no idea back then that all of reality itself hung in the balance.
It's a very classic case of curiosity killed the cat. A very classic case of curiosity killed the cat. And you know what? I would fall victim to it too. I would 100% fall victim to it as well. My ADHD would lead me to my death. Yeah, I would hyper-focus on this. And I would die, like, the next day. And my coworkers would be like, which one got out?
After asking questions around the containment site where he was stationed, he managed to gain clearance to the containment chamber. That's when he got the sense that something was amiss. He found himself at the mouth of a high-security elevator, and after swiping his clearance card, he stepped inside. The elevator began its kilometer-long descent into the Earth. Along the sides of the shaft, Talleyrand could see Scranton reality anchors, devices specifically built to negate reality warping anomalous abilities, fixed to the sides at regular intervals. Concerningly, each one seemed to have burnt out or exploded.
Okay, side note, but like a kilometer in an elevator is so long. Like, you're there for like at least 30 minutes, depending on how fast you're going.
What on earth was the Foundation hiding down there? That's when he heard strange words, a corruption of the poetry of T.S. Eliot, looping through his mind. Let us go then, you and I, when the 11-day empire eats the sky, like a humanoid melting like clams upon the breakfast table.
Hi, hello, Editing Rain here. This line confused me a lot, and it will confuse me again later in this video. I'll try to explain it when we get there.
And so began the end of reality itself. Researcher James Talleyrand blinked, and he was standing in the middle of what seemed to be a Foundation containment chamber. But he wasn't trapped in there with an anomaly. It was just him, and a large group of senior researchers was watching him from outside the glass of a viewing port, seemingly taking notes. It was like he wasn't the researcher anymore. He was the anomaly, trapped here. And then he noticed it. The thing standing behind the senior researchers, though none of them seemed to notice it. A huge, dark figure, standing 2 heads taller than anyone in that room. Its face a grinning mess of eyes and teeth.
Smash. Sorry. Expected rain reaction. Yeah, I'm sorry. I do apologize. I had to get it out of my system. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. Yeah. I'm a monster f***er. I'm sorry I had to find out like this.
This was SCP-3999, the head researcher on the case of James Talleran. Talleran tried to plead his case, but no one responded to him. Suddenly, pain shot all through his body, as though his nervous system was replaced by barbed wire. He collapsed to the ground as the other researchers took notes. Suddenly, several television screens appeared all around the room, each facing towards Talleran. Each one showed a shaky, first-person video feed that seemed to come from the helmet camera of a different Mobile Task Force member heading into a different building. Talleran recognized each one: the salon where his mother worked, the tax accounting office where his father worked, his younger sister's dorm at Penn State University. Talleran didn't know what was going on. He wouldn't remain that way for long, though. On each of the screens, the Mobile Task Force breached. In the top left screen, he saw the man whose POV he was following pull out a silenced handgun and murder his mother in front of her screaming coworkers and clients. A similar thing happened in his father's office. The Mobile Task Force agent pulled out a tactical karambit and lunged towards Talleran's father, plunging it into the unfortunate man's neck. But worst of all was what happened to his sister. At least in the first 2 killings, there had been no collateral damage, but in the feed of the Penn State video, he saw his sister and her friends freeze in confusion that soon curdled into horror when the barrel of an M249 SAW light machine gun entered the frame. It fired until there was nothing left alive in the video. Talleran screamed and banged his fists against the glass viewing port of the chamber until he left red stains against the surface, begging for the slaughter to end. But sadly, it was actually just beginning.
Oh my god. What the fuck? Holy shit. That took a turn. That took a fucking turn. Holy shit. Holy shit. On a stick. I'm gonna have to bleep so much in this video. My god. That took a turn. That took a very big turn. Like, he was going down an elevator and next second his fucking family was dead.
SCP-3999 had drawn up a list of every worker at the Foundation that Talleran had ever been in contact with. Every friend, every colleague, everyone he'd so much as shared a word with.
Oh my god, I forgot it gets worse. Okay.
All of them would have to go next. And under the order of the new administrator of the SCP Foundation, one SCP-3999, all of them would have to be terminated post-haste. It was a massacre all across the site. Many of the targets were arrested and then taken out the back of the facility, forced to their knees, and executed. Cafeteria staff were instructed to put arsenic in the food of anyone on the list. Those who were on field missions had Foundation drones sent after them, blowing up entire city blocks with them inside to kill them if necessary. No demand that SCP-3999 gave could ever be refused. Soon enough, James Talleran was teleported out of his cell and into the barren lands outside the containment site. There he was surrounded by huge bonfires, each containing the thousands of charred bones of everyone he'd ever known. His mind almost cracked from the sheer horror of witnessing it, when SCP-3999 appeared next to him and laid an appendage that might be a hand on his shoulder.
This seems like the beginning of a beautiful eternity, Jamesy boy.
It said in a voice that made...
There's no way he called him Jamesy boy! There is no way he called him Jamesy boy! Oh my god, I'm sorry.
His ears bleed. Not far from where Talleran collapsed, a giant granite statue depicting SCP-3999 had been erected, guarded by a pair of heavily armed Mobile Task Force members. Talleran blinked, and a lifetime had passed. He was surrounded by members of the Serpent's Hand in their flowing cloaks, somehow believing that he was not himself, but Brian Frederick Bondisky, a high-ranking Fifthist leader. Perhaps he was always Bondisky. Perhaps Bondisky had just dreamed that there was a man named Researcher James Tallerin, and that unfortunate man's world had ended in the most terrible way. It was almost comforting to believe that, until he felt a presence beside him. He turned and saw that SCP-3999 was standing next to him, doing the closest it could possibly manage to a grin with its monstrous features. He remembered that he was Tallerin, and this was just another cruel trick. He was the bait, but better the bait than the butt of the joke.
This is all going so fast. What the hell? What the f***? Oh my god. What is happening? This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I sure hope not. I sure hope not. He is a mix from Freddy Krueger and Pegasus from Yu-Gi-Oh! I really wonder how this one operates. I kind of wonder what the machinations are for this one. This is going very, very fast. Okay, so he decided to look into this one SCP that he could not find files about. And he was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm aware of the dangers that could possibly happen. Let me just, take a look-see and we'll see. He goes down into a kilometer-long elevator, and promptly he is on his knees. His family is dead. His co-workers are dead. He's transported into a new fucking reality where he is worshipped like a cult leader, but he is not actually that cult leader, and his family and his co-workers are still dead. What is happening? I will leave you to figure that one out after the ad break. I'll see you in a bit. I think that is over.
In what might have been moments or years later, hard to tell, James was standing in the burning remains of the Wanderer's library. Dead and screaming Serpent's Hand members all around him, blood on his own wounded.
Okay, they're not giving me a break whatsoever. I'm sorry. Hold up. Okay, I need a recap for the recap. Hold on. I forgot that this thing doesn't fucking stop. Okay, he remembered that he was Tallerin, and he was the bait for something, but we don't know we don't know what he is the bait for yet. Better the bait than the butt of the joke. I still don't understand what he means with that. But what are they baiting? What are they using him for?
SCP-3999 just laughing next to him, having a jolly old time. In a flash, Tallerin found himself in a Foundation termination chamber, used rarely, but vital when a humanoid anomaly or person of interest is deemed too dangerous to live. SCP-3999 just stood and laughed as a Foundation agent approached Tallerin with a handgun, aimed it at the researcher's head, and fired. James Tallerin was killed. James Tallerin woke up again, alive. The memories of all the horrors that came before are hazy and frightening, like a half-remembered nightmare rendered hazy upon waking. He was sitting at the end of a long table, seemingly being interviewed by another researcher. The researcher asked him who he was. "I'm Researcher Tallerin, one of the researchers assigned to SCP-3999. The other researcher seemed confused by this, told him that they had no records of him. The memories of something before were beginning to resurface in the distorted soup that was Tallerin's mind. Something happened here. He said, "I told you there's something funny happening to me, but I can't quite describe it."
Bestie, I would not describe that as funny. I would never have used the word funny. This is not funny. I would have used any other word. Just like not funny. Something funny is not happening to you. Something terrible is happening to you, bro. Something horrible is happening to you. Something absolutely dreadful. Something incomprehensible. I know he doesn't mean haha funny. I know he means something weird, something odd. It is not just weird and odd. It is incomprehensible. It is terrible. It is dreadful. It is bad.
It's like in a dream where things are really disconnected. I have trouble focusing on things now. I just feel a lot of unease. It's like reality has started to feel less real, if that makes sense.
Are they gonna diagnose him with anxiety?
The researcher asked him who he was again. That exact same inflection as before, like he was a toy with only 6 fun gaslighting phrases that it would say when you pulled a string on his back. But Tallerin wasn't going to just play to this fool's script. He asked the doctor his name, and the man just replied with an odd, choked, screeching noise. The room began to melt like old film stock as the monstrous SCP-3999 rose up from behind the doctor interviewing Talaran, devouring the imperfect puppet as reality itself seemed to congeal into a nightmarish, semi-solid soup. James Talaran woke up. He was a baby in his mother's arms. What a terrible dream this whole thing had been.
What do you mean? How did... You woke up as a baby in your mother's arms and you remembered, like, oh, that was a horrible dream. What is happening? Everything is happening all at once.
What an awful, impossible dream. He grew up, went to school, made friends, got a job, found a husband, grew old.
He's gay now! Congrats on your marriage, but what is happening? Okay.
Never had anything to do with the SCP Foundation. Never got assigned to SCP-3999. Years passed.
Yeah.
Decades passed. And in his twilight years, he was shot in the head while taking a walk through the park. The shot came from a Remington Model 700 sniper rifle, fired by a Foundation Mobile Task Force member hiding in the bushes nearby.
Very specific. Very specific.
James Talaran woke up. He was a researcher for the SCP Foundation. Except, no, he was Max Lipschitz, a high-ranking Maxwellist leader, standing before members of the Church of the Broken God with a wonderful gift to give them, SCP-3999. Soon enough, Max Lipschitz was standing in the ashes of a Broken God
Is his name actually Lipschitz? Do I have to censor that?
cathedral, the tortured bodies of the mechanists writhing in the muck. 3999 stood above him again, running appendages that might have been fingers through his hair, ruffling it the way you might pet a dog. And the monster had so many eternities of ideas that it still wanted to try out.
Oh, God.
James Talaran woke up, but he was no longer James Talaran.
Oh, Lord.
He was a scented candle in the office of SCP-3999.
What is the limit of this? A scented fucking candle? What do you mean? I thought he could only change it to, like, sentient beings. Not scented beings. What the... Okay, I'm calm.
999, which was reclining in a huge leather office chair. It snapped one of its appendages, and Talaran's wick set alight, causing a terrible burning sensation like being attacked by thousands of hungry fire ants. This would not end.
It's called fire, first of all, but what's happening? How long does this candle burn for? I'm so confused. I was taking a walk and woke up to being turned into a candle. What the fuck? What's happening?
For hours and hours, until the scented candle that was James Talaran was burnt down all the way to the base.
Okay, but that's a pretty good candle, because if it lasts that many hours, that's a good candle. That's a good candle. That must have been expensive.
He had no idea what scent he was during this period, because he didn't have a nose. When he woke up again, he was in a...
No, that was so unnecessary. Just died the most agonizing, excruciating death, burning himself and melting himself at the same time, until there's nothing left of him. He did not know what kind of scent he was, for he had no nose. I have no nose and I must smell. I know this is very serious and very traumatizing for this guy, but... Whew. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm right. Okay. No more giggles.
His sister's dorm at Penn State University, SCP-3999 was mercilessly torturing his sister, while a pair of Mobile Task Force agents held his arms in place, so there was nothing he could do to intervene. And after hours upon hours of torture, SCP-3999 took his sister to a nearby Meyer Dairy ice cream store, where the two of them shared a banana split.
What if she doesn't like banana?
This? She asked, tears racing down her cheeks.
Because it's so much fun.
SCP-3999 said, eating a spoonful of ice cream.
Do I really need any more reason than that?
Talaran woke up in the...
What if she's allergic to banana? I don't like bananas. If he were to torture me and take me out for ice cream, and it's a fucking banana split, I'm going to have some words for him. I don't care how many... I don't care how many stab wounds I have. Do you think Leon Kennedy would survive SCP-3999?
dark of the SCP-3999 containment chamber. He heard his own voice echoing off the walls saying,
"Let me out! Let me out! This isn't funny, guys. This thing is slowly killing me in here. I'm trapped with it."
Was that what was happening here? He didn't even know anymore. He got up and threw his body against the wall of the chamber with all of his might. It fell down like the cheap, painted cardboard backdrops of a middle school play. Beyond, there was just infinite darkness, where the eyes of SCP-3999 watched with voyeuristic glee. There was nothing here. Nothing but...
Okay, so it's a kink for him. I understand. This was like the paralysis demon of a person with the most severe ADHD I've ever seen.
And it. This is when he started to understand what was really going on here. He was trapped in whatever this place was with this thing, and there was no reality outside of it anymore. It was the Alpha and Omega. It controlled the horizontal and the vertical. Perhaps they were looking at a state of reality distortion, or worse, a ZK-class end-of-reality scenario. But no plan was perfect, especially not the plan of a capricious monster intent on absolute sadism.
This is not capricious! This is not capricious! This is downright evil! This is fucking evil! It controlled the pee-pee and the poo-poo. I want someone to say that in the Duke Nukem voice.
Sadism above all else. There would be some oversight, some flaw in the design, something he could exploit. Because even if this thing was powerful, that didn't necessarily mean it was smart. He would find its weakness, and when he did, he'd destroy this thing. Buoyed by the desire for revenge for everything he'd been put through, he began tearing at the ground with his fingernails, scratching it up, ripping chunks away. He was able to tear a little hole and saw light glowing up through it.
Oh?
And then reality folded in on itself like old laundry. James Talleyrand woke up, and the horrors resumed. He was a test subject for head researcher SCP-3999 once again, eager to use his body to test the full extent of pain that a human being can tolerate over however many lifetimes. And the latest experiment it had planned was a real doozy. Members of Mobile Task Force Lambda-14 held the unfortunate researcher down and injected between 40,000 and 50,000 tapeworm eggs into his bladder. While in a terrible state of discomfort from this, he would be forced to spoon-feed cornflakes into the terrible maw of SCP-3999 every night. The creature...
What is happening? What?
...had officially changed its designation in the halls of the Foundation to Godhead Immortal and Supreme. As part of the containment protocols for the anomaly known as James Talleyrand, he would need to be executed once a month. Of course, this would only leave him dead for a little while each time, and after, he'd be forced to watch his parents being tortured in front of him. Godhead Immortal and Supreme 3999 considered this to be the most wonderful entertainment. Researcher Talleyrand would have a water hose inserted into his body, painfully filling him with water until...
Oh my god! This is straight up evil! Like, even Satan would be like, whoa there, buddy. What the f***? Dear God, okay.
He achieved a spherical shape. SCP-3999 would set researcher Talleyrand on fire and toast marshmallows over him as he burns. SCP-3999 would put researcher James Talleyrand through every form of pain that it could conceive, and its appetite for suffering was completely and utterly boundless. It was willing to hurt anyone, of course, but only insofar as hurting those people could wound and isolate researcher James Talleyrand. It was somehow intrinsically connected to Talleyrand, and Talleyrand himself began to realize this.
Naked! Am I gonna have to censor that?
Everything that...
Am I gonna have to censor this? YouTube, don't bonk me!
And Talleyrand himself began to realize this. He was at the center of everything that happened to him. He was the nexus where all of the creature's drives towards suffering and torment met. He was the ant burning under God's magnifying glass. He was at the center of everything that happened to him. He was at the center of everything that happened to him. And at a point, just torturing one researcher James Talleyrand wasn't enough. It split him into 48 clones and trapped him in a terrible building made of hundreds of concentric circles, running around like rats in a maze, being tormented forever and ever. They lived, they died, they lived again, they died again. Rinse and repeat. The monster never got bored of hurting him. Somehow, perhaps through sheer force of will and through understanding how the terrible mind of his jailer actually worked, he was able to wrestle control. Not total control, but enough control for him to sit across from the monster on a long, metal table. The researcher interviewing the anomaly, as things should be. He chastised the creature, saying, "Even you cannot survive without order. You latched onto me and still need me. A pathetic excuse for order to exist. This is pathetic. You're pathetic." The monster responded as monsters do, with attempts at intimidation, with threats of violence. But researcher James Talleyrand, and he truly was researcher James Talleyrand, was not scared by this monster, merely disgusted by it. He yelled, "You can't frighten me anymore." For the first million years of nonsensical containment procedures and tortures and dream logic, it was the worst pain I'd ever felt. But I survived. For the second million years of nonsensical containment procedures, it was still the hardest thing I had ever done. But I survived. By the third million years, I was growing numb. There's only so many times you can watch anything before you grow numb. But you know what, you freak? I survived. Which is more than you can claim, you dumb brute, because you never lived at all. For the first time in so many lifetimes, the monster was dumbstruck. And sensing for the first time in all of eternity that he had the upper hand, James kept going. So who are you, exactly? Ask yourself that. Who are you before a human who is ready to fight? You're nothing but the primordial ooze. And I am ready to fight. I am numb to your nonsense. Because here's the thing about horror and weirdness. The more you reveal, the less effect it has. I am sick of your horror. I am sick of you. As punishment for this act of rebellion, and what a glorious act it was, SCP-3999 slowly melted researcher James Talleyrand over the course of 5 grueling years. But Talleyrand knew that he'd begun to turn the tide in his favor.
3 million years? He has suffered this for 3 million years. And he kept track of that? Jesus Christ. Yeah, you will get used to it. Like, you get kind of desensitized to it. That's like, the constant torture stops meaning anything eventually. Even if you find new ways to torture, deranged sadist gets called a little bitch once, f***ing cries. This is Twitter.
If he could end this monster, then reality would return to how it always should have been. He just needed to figure out how. And somehow, he did. Back in the reality that we consider our own, that we have the ontological arrogance to assume is realer than the world where Talleyrand was trapped, something strange happened. The site director of Site 118 came to the realization that one of the newly transferred researchers at the site, one researcher James Talleyrand, hadn't been accounted for in a couple days. After conducting internal investigations, he found that the researcher had taken an interest in SCP-3999, an anomaly that they had no record of ever existing. Until they found an elevator shaft leading a kilometer below the Earth with multiple broken Scranton reality anchors lining its metal surfaces. At the bottom of the shaft, they found the dead body of researcher James Talleyrand, and his phone, where the extensive notes that make up the majority of this account were found. The impossible ordeal that James Talleyrand had gone through. The official file on SCP-3999...
Wait, he died? It does sound like he's just in regular hell, not gonna lie. It does sound like he is in regular hell. Okay, so not only is he dead, he's at the bottom of the shaft. He's not even in the elevator anymore. He's literally at the bottom of the shaft. Yeah, just let me go to the place where all reality anchors are broken and with risk of getting possessed by Giga Satan. This is just hell. This is just hell. This is just like hell extra, hell plus extra hell. Oh, you're going to extra hell. How the fuck did they lose track of a kilometer-long elevator? They didn't even know it was there, apparently. They didn't even know that SCP-3999 existed. He listed all that in his phone, in his notes? But how did he have the battery for... Oh, wait. His reality is different from this reality, obviously. Yeah, got it. That's a lot of notes. The
official file on SCP-3999 concludes with... It has been determined that researcher Talleyrand was assigned to SCP-3999. SCP-3999 had significant reality warping properties. It breached containment at some point and caused either a CK-class reality restructuring event or a ZK-class end-of-reality event, and it was successfully terminated by researcher Talaran at the cost of his own life, reversing said event.
Hello, it's Editing Rain again. For those like me who have no clue what a CK or a ZK event even is, here is the rundown. Before we get into it, please note that there are no real canon definitions of a K-class scenario. A CK class is a restructuring scenario, a change in reality brought forth by a conscious effort to change the reality as we know it. These can be radical and impact the world, or small and localized changes. A ZK scenario is a reality failure scenario, a fundamentally broken or even eliminated reality. These can also be limited to localized areas, but may be used in a broader sense too.
There are many things we'll still never know about SCP-3999, but there is one thing we can say with some degree of certainty. In his sacrifice, in his almost infinite suffering, researcher James Talaran saved the rest of us from it.
What the actual? This was insane! Kapow! Okay, I have the wiki entry open. Talaran soloed the Napoleon class. Yeah, he did. He literally soloed that. He was like, nah, let me solo him after 3 million years. That's insane, actually. He went to hell and straight up like, nah, I'm God now. So let's go over this. As you can see, it is quite a long one. But I feel it's very necessary to go over this too in order to like at least somewhat understand what we're dealing with, because Jesus Christ. So this is, I think, what he said when you go down. Let us go then, you and I, when the 11-day empire eats the sky. Like a humanoid melting like clams upon the breakfast table. No clue what that means. Don't worry, Editing Rain's got you. This was what I preluded to earlier in the video.
Let us go then, you and I, when the 11-day empire eats the sky, like a humanoid melting like clams upon the breakfast table.
This is a changed version of a T.S. Eliot poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, Part 2, Prufrock, the Poem and the Man. The original lines are as follows. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon the table. This poem is confusing by design, Eliot setting up the reader and the protagonist for failure and to get lost in a meaningless universe where all certainties had been lost. This may have been how the author interpreted the poem. Clams upon the breakfast table? Does this have some kind of meaning? I'm gonna leave that one for my YouTube crows. Educate me, YouTube viewers. What is the 11-day empire? The home base of the faction Paradox. Territory was purchased from King George II of England by Grandfather Paradox under the Gregorian Compact. When the country switched over from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar in 1752, causing 11 days to be skipped from the month of September. Huh. Doctor Who? It's a Doctor Who reference? Oh my goodness. I didn't even know that. Alright, so that is the 11-day empire. That's a Doctor Who reference. I fucking love that. I missed that. I'm a Doctor Who fan and I fucking missed that. I'm a fake fucking fan. In Doctor Who, it's a pocket dimension that a group of paradox-loving time travelers live in. Yeah, I absolutely goddamn missed that. I completely fucking missed that. I'm a fake fan. I'm a fake fan. Okay, so this article is really long. Like, really long. If I loved the entire thing in this video, it would be twice the length it is now. So allow me to give you the rundown in this way instead. I will still leave in some parts that I think are cool. Throughout the article, you see a lot of words, sentences, and even entire sections crossed out. These are influenced by SCP-3999, who is taking control of Talaran's life, as well as the article itself by writing and striking out parts of the article. At the beginning of this article, 3999 is pretty much in control. As the scenarios get crazier and crazier, a lot of fun references pop up. I highly recommend going through this SCP's entry and reading through it for yourself, because it is one hell of a ride if you go in blind. Which, I guess, does not go when you're watching this video. Either way, it's a fun read. Before long, the author starts referencing other SCPs to further develop the story, some of which they wrote themselves and some written by other authors. It got a bit too confusing for me here live, so I skipped over them in the stream. I will briefly touch upon them here though for context. SCP-2432, where 3999 requested to be contained, is a hotel room designed to induce mind-altering effects on the guest who sleeps in this room. Keeping SCP-3999 and 2432 together seems to have caused a new form of dimensional anomaly, which vanished immediately after removing 3999 from 2432. Next up, SCP-1981 displays a video of Ronald Reagan in which he delivers a speech while getting increasingly more lacerated and beat up, the contents of this speech changing per replay and even hinting at future events. SCP-1171 is a two-story house in Australia. This anomaly occurs through condensation on the windows of the house under any circumstance, and a hostile, non-human entity communicating by writing in this condensation. This condensation also allows for two-way conversation by writing back. Eventually in the article, you can clearly see signs of Talleyrand fighting back against 3999, when the ridiculous entries start morphing into just silly and nonsensical, and even attempting to break out of this fabricated reality he's been subjected to for who knows how long by now. This one is my favorite part. SCP-3999 is to be contained via the following joke. A family walks into a talent agency. It's a father, a mother, a son, a daughter, and a dog. The father says to the talent agency, "We have a really amazing act. You should represent us." The agent says, "Sorry, I don't represent family acts. They're a little too cute." The mother says, "Sir, if you just see our act, we know you would want to represent us." The agent says, Okay, I'll take a look." The father dresses himself in a top hat wearing a sign that says talent agent. The mother dresses as the father and walks up to him and says, "We have a really amazing act. You should represent us." The agent says, "Sorry, I don't represent family acts. They're a little too cute." The son, playing as the mother, says, "Sir, if you just see our act, we know you would want to represent us." The agent says, Okay, I'll take a look." The son dresses himself in a top hat wearing a sign that says talent agent. The daughter dresses as the father and walks up to him and says, "We have a really amazing act. You should represent us." This goes on for quite a while and gets more ridiculous as we go. The talent agent says, "Sorry, I don't represent family acts." The dog playing the dog says, "Sir, if you see our act, we know you would want to represent us." The talent agent dresses himself as a top hat wearing a sign that says family. The father dresses as the father, dressing as the son, and walks up to him and says, "We have a really amazing act. You should represent us." The agent says, "Sorry, I don't represent family acts. They're a little too cute." The agent, playing himself, says, "Sir, if you just see our act, we know you would want to represent us." The agent says, Okay, I'll take a look. Researcher Talleyrand dresses himself in a top hat wearing a sign that says talent agent. SCP-3999 dresses as the father and walks up to him and says, "System error, data corrupted. Please see a network administrator for more details." The agent mumbles incoherently. SCP-3999, playing the mother, says, "System error, data corrupted. Please see a network administrator for more details." The agent spits out a weak sigh. Order is to be discarded like a humanoid melting clams on the breakfast table. Order is the way of villains. True good is a formless void, melting and writhing and corrupting. You happy yet? This is what is called an aristocrat's joke. It is a very famous non-joke and uses a flexible format in the middle section to keep the joke going forever and ever and ever. This was most likely done to confuse SCP-3999 and hopefully that way tear a rift in his reality. At the end you can see it both succeeded and failed. You can very clearly tell that after this, SCP-3999 started lashing out, Talleyrand's fighting back, they're punching back and forth for a while, until it gets silly again. All personnel who work with the SCP are to be reminded that this is a fictional entity written by a biologically male human in his late teens of Jewish and Irish descent on his spring break for a community of loser horror writers who have stolen far too much of his time away and fight like children over left-wing policies in the chat room, and also is to be contained as the containment procedure for SCP-2000. Am I allowed to see this? Submit. Consciousness confirmed, retrieving file, Thaumiel. Oh, okay. So he wants to be seen as something good. He wants to be contained as if he's good. Okay, so SCP-2000 is a subterranean Foundation installation originally constructed for the purpose of reconstructing civilization in the event that a K-class end-of-world scenario could not be averted in time. Yeah. Not only does he want to contain like he is something good, he wants to be contained as if he is a savior. Researcher Talleyrand is to contain SCP by dying repeatedly. This sentence, along with the entries earlier in the article about Talaran living out his life in a new reality, the amount of different lives he had lived under a guise of different people, reminded me of something I forgot to mention while watching Dr. Bob's video earlier that I would like to share with you. If you are still here, that is. All the different realities that Talaran was subjected to and had to live through reminds me of Junji Ito's Long Dream, a manga I read years ago about a man who keeps having realistic dreams, but each night he goes to sleep they get longer and longer. A whole week, a month, several years, his entire life, thousands of years even, only to repeat that cycle every night he goes to sleep again, over and over. Much like how Talaran spent 3 million years living out life after life, reality after reality, only to die and come back once again. SCP is everything that's wrong with the world, is lolcats, is you reading this, is former Vice President of the United States Mike Pence, is food, is several moldy blankets, is researcher Talaran's soul, is GOI referred to as nobody, is the concept of the Grinch, is SCP-055, okay. A self-keeping secret or an anti-meme, is a murderous penguin, is not a quadrilateral, is MS Subalakshmi, is body image disorder, is your missing sock, oh my god, finally. I have so many of those. SCP-3000 contest. I need to know what they are. The SCP-3000 contest is actually the writing contest from which this SCP sprung. SCP-3000 is just a comic. Is lice. Is anything moving quickly. Is cliché lists that look like they were written by a crazy person. Is self-loathing. Is Gary Gygax's kidney. Is nothing. Is Nintendo. Is the last moment of the sun. Is the administrator of the SCP Foundation. Is a pillow. Is Max Landis. Is free jazz. Is the 2020 novel coronavirus pandemic. Is every word spoken by Am in Harlan Ellis, I have no mouth and I must scream. Is papaya a mango salad. Is death. Is every bee that ever existed. Is forgetting a loved one. Is poinsettias. Is breast reduction surgery. Is the 1922 documentary Nanook of the North. Is a fool. Is a brutalist architecture. Is a bookshelf filled with stories. Is all of the above at once forever at all times in your dreams. This can be the only conclusive fact. Stop asking. After a fight to define SCP-3999, which the SCP earlier in the article specifically prohibited, Talaran now attempts to regain control by instead finding ways to contain it, using the containment procedures of SCP-2845, the Deer. Containing SCP-2845 is a joint effort between the Foundation and the US government, and a special location known as Site-100 has been created specifically to contain this SCP. The location consists of a multitude of rings and chambers with very strict protocols, much like the ones mentioned in this article. You can see later in this article that SCP-3999 retaliated by replacing all the guards with Talaran and lashing out at his roommate's pet, all in an effort to control the chaos before, as the kids put it so eloquently, crashing the fuck out. Only at AMC theaters? Only at SCP, only at Applebee's, only at Walmart, only at Barnes & Nobles, only at Home Depot, only at McDonald's, only at Wawa, only at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, only at your basement, only at behind you, only at only. Help please, your nightmares. The death of everyone you've ever loved, you wake up to more nightmares. But I really like the concept of it. I really like how it's written. The article is so cleverly written. I don't think a video could actually do it justice. And Dr. Bob did a fantastic job, by the way. Dr. Bob did an amazing job. But I don't think any video could do this article justice because of how it's written. I love the way they use this medium. It's really well done. It's really well done. An SCP poses a serious threat to normal reality and should be contained in its own vomit. Researcher Talaran must submit to his own insecurities. SCP is not scary. All researchers are to dislike SCP-3999 and like other SCP-3999s. Oh, is this the guy that wrote it? Or maybe it is an author's note. It is I think it is an author's note. I'm not sure anymore. Wait. Something happened. I woke up from a light slumber, couldn't move at all. James Martin Talaran, level 3 researcher, rose up like a devil at the foot of my bed. He was this incomprehensible dark shape. Somehow I recognized him instantly. He stared at me with those horrible glowing eyes and just laughed and laughed at my condition. I went to bed. Then from his lab coat he pulled out a giant, gleaming curved dagger. It was glinting oddly in the moonlight, and as I watched he stuck the dagger in his mouth and sliced horizontally. His lower jaw fell to the floor, despite the impossibility of the cut being that powerful. What remained of his mouth dripped blood and his tongue flopped weirdly in red waterfalls. Like a whistle beckoning dogs, this was a cue for all the terrors of the world to come pouring out of every nook and cranny to join Talaran there. It was all the nightmares I had spent the better part of a year immersed in. Sliced presidents, unstoppable lizard, clockwork people, iPods, dear gods, moving statues, old men, both good and bad, all standing silently, a crowd of horror. They looked contemptuously at me, lying, unmoving in my piss and shit-stained bed. Why would you bother your time with us? In the grand scheme of things, we are ultimately nothing. Idiotic horror creations. You have so much more you could be than a creator of garbage like us. Be somebody, I seemed to hear them say. As they stared, one of them, a rotting corpse thing, patted Talaran on the shoulder. He took the dagger stained with his own blood and leaned over me. His red eyes stared into my soul, and I saw every bad thing I'd ever done. I gulped, and summoning every ounce of will I could muster into my muscles, made my lips move. Do it. He plunged the dagger into my stomach and ripped it sideways. My intestines spilled out on the wooden floor like wet sponges. Researcher Talaran's grotesque maw dripped and splattered blood on my face as he leered over me and the whole collective abortion of creatures I watched smugly. I woke up. It was a dream. And this is where you come in. I sat down and wrote this whole thing, then and there. Had to. It felt right. It's currently been about 2 days since about that nightmare, and I'm only just finishing up. This is the ultimate end. This is the restoration of things. I don't know whether I can continue from here. I don't know whether I will. The 11-day empire melted me, and I submitted. You watched me submit from the moment I joined the Foundation. The SCP has won. The SCP is lost. I hate myself. I love myself. The corpse of a level 3 researcher, James Talaran, was found. A Foundation-assigned cell phone was found on his body, containing only a piece of text resembling a containment procedure for 3999, but with many stylistic deviations and nonsensical procedures, as well as redacted information concerning the nature of the Foundation. It breached containment at some point, and caused either a CK-class reality restructuring event or a ZK-class of end-of-reality event, and it was successfully terminated by researcher Talaran at the cost of his own life, reversing said event. That is insane! That was a fucking article, my boys. That was an article. I didn't know what I was getting into. This video is gonna be over an hour long. I already know it. And I don't even think the concept itself is like that groundbreaking or anything. I just think it's actually like incredibly well done. I really think the author did so well on this. So for the story behind this SCP, the author had wanted to write an SCP article for a long time but was having writer's block. He wrote many different drafts and ended up scrapping the one common thread in all of them, a researcher named James Talaran. Eventually he started thinking about what it would be like for that researcher to be subjected to such innumerable horrors brought on by one writing the reality he was in, and that led him to write this. That is one of the coolest things you can do as a writer, I think. It just goes to show that as long as you just keep writing something, eventually you're gonna be struck with something genius. It was a ride. It went entirely too fast, and I think that was like the purpose of it. The SCP is basically him. He is literally the SCP. He wrote the story about himself torturing James Talaran, and I think that is insanely well done. I have so much praise for this article. I loved it so much. It was fantastic. It was actually fantastic. One of my favorites, actually. You pee on your ass? No, I only pee on your ass if you ask nicely. I'm sorry. Okay, wait, stop, hold up. No. I don't mean that. I don't mean that. Only one frame. Yeah, I know. We've not even started the video. Girl is just yapping. Bro is on to nothing. We're at 0-0. You don't know. You have no idea how much I have to cut out. You're looking at me, right? Right? You're looking at me, right? You're not just staring at her just because she's on the screen, right? You're still looking at me, right? See, this is why you should never take me seriously when I say a man is handsome, because like my compliments mean nothing. My compliments mean nothing. I know what I smash. You guys know what I smash. Such a great first impression. Hi! I'm sorry, this is your first impression of me. I promise it does not get better though. You would think you've been transported into The Sims. Want als ik nu spontaan Nederlands begin te praten, de helft van de mensen die hier zitten, die snappen er helemaal geen zak meer van. En dat begrijp ik, want het Nederlands is een rare taal. Het is een hele rare taal. Niemand snapt er eigenlijk een kut van, want er valt geen taal aan vast te knopen. Our vibe is going chill again. We're going daddy chill vibes, and he is very not daddy chill. We hebben een serieus probleem. You're laughing, but we hebben een serieus probleem. Because I hate myself, I think. Why are we always going back to wholesome, cutesy, unrelated conversation? This guy is actively torturing a man. My god, I'm gonna have a great time editing this. I'm gonna have a terrible time and a great time at the same time. I am glad I still have 2 cans of monsters left.